1.4 was what's an angle and how do we measure and classify them. And we started with a really silly story about the caveman who is standing and trying to point to his fellow caveman how far up the mountain an ox is. And so through debate and deliberation, the cavemen say, hey, you know what? We need to come up with an idea for that, how much up the mountain to point to. And we said, you know what? They came up with the angle. And then they said, we need a way to measure that. We can't just say, oh, look a lot up or a little up. So they said, you know what? Let's create angles. And that's what they did. And they used a unit of measurement called degrees. And then they came with a protractor. So now the caveman can say, you know what? Look 47 degrees up. And you'll see where the ox is. All right, so we did that silly story in class to convey that an angle is essentially how much up you look, all right, if you're on the ground. And we have a lot of different angles, some small, 30 degrees, 90 degrees, 157. And we practiced drawing and labeling angles. And the key point is to use 3 letters in naming an angle. So this is angle AVS or SVA. But be careful, this is not angle VAS, so you can't go VAS. So what we said was to just trace the 3 letters, and when you say those 3 letters, it should trace that angle. Alright, so that was that was the beginning. Then we said, you know what, we need some words to describe different types of angles, whether they be small, or 90 degrees, or large. We came up with acute for less than 90, obtuse, 90 and 180, right is exactly 90, and here's a symbol for 90. We have perpendicular, which means, it's 2 lines that intersect and make a 90-degree angle, and a straight angle, which is essentially a straight line, and it's 180 degrees. One way to remember that, because students have trouble with that, is to realize that a protractor is 180 degrees. So if you start here and go all around, 0 all the way 90 to 100, 110, 120, 100, 180, it works out. Now we did some examples, and examples were very similar to the segment addition postulate in that you look at the picture, see what the story it's telling you. And so in this case, it's telling you this is a big 90-degree angle, AVC. And it's made up of 2 smaller angles, x and 20. So that 90-degree angle equals x plus 20, so x is 70 degrees. We did another example that was a little more complicated. Here's a big red angle. It's made up of 4x plus 4, 4x minus 1. The big red angle is 155. So you have to look at the story, see what it's telling you, and then write an equation that represents the story, the picture that the geometry example is showing you. And then you plug in and solve using your Algebra 1 skills. This was called the angle addition postulate. It was very similar to the segment addition postulate, and we went over some similarities and differences between them. Alright, so that was the basic idea behind lesson 1.4, what's an angle, how do we measure and classify them. And so if you have any questions, you let me know. Take care.